Good evening. This is BelGeode, and we are back with some more X-Plane 11 in virtual reality. Howdy folks, and we are back here in X-Plane 11, and tonight we are on leg number 4 of our massive Florida tour using Orbx True Earth Florida. And tonight we are picking up where we left off from. So we're in Orlando. You can see the control tower there. Just to remind you, this is Nimbus Simulations Orlando. And our chariot for this evening is going to be the brand spanking new VSkyLabs Robinson R66. Now this helicopter is PAYWARE, and like I said, it is brand spanking new, and as you can see, VSkyLabs has done it yet again. They've even managed to put a little laptop in here that's got Avatab on it. Look at that. That's pretty cool. We're going to play with that during the flight here. So, for tonight, we are going to be going through the full cold and dark startup procedure for this helicopter. Pardon me, let me close my door here. There we go. And we're going to be flying from Orlando to Tampa, Florida. So that means we're going to be heading west. Typically, what I have been doing during these legs is going to SkyVector to actually show you the route that we plan on taking. And tonight is not going to be an exception. So let me just locate where we are. Let's see, Orlando, KMCO is what I'm looking for. There it is. Whoops, zoomed in just a little too much, but you can see us right there. All right, so let's go to SkyVector and check out our route that we're going to be taking this evening. Okay, so in spite of the fact that in the upper left-hand corner of the screen it says our ETA is 41 minutes, this is actually going to be a longer flight. The reason for that is because of the fact that we're in a Robinson R66 and we can't travel nearly as fast as some of the other legs that we've had thus far. But suffice to say, we're going to be going from the right of your screen to the left of your screen, and we're going to start at Kilo Mike Charlie Oscar, or Orlando International. We're going to be heading to the waypoint Warpo, which is just to the west of Orlando. The reason why I've selected that waypoint, it is right around the area where Disneyworld is. So we're going to take a quick look at Mickey Mouse Country. Then we're going to dogleg to the southwest and hit up Lakeland, or LAL, Lima Alpha Lima. And then once we overfly Lakeland Airport, we are going to continue heading west to Kilo Tango Papa Alpha, or Tampa International Airport. And that's where we're going to call it for tonight. Okay, so we got that out of the way, so we can go ahead and put away our little X-Pad here. I think I'm going to shove it under the seat. That should be fine. Alright, now let's go ahead and get started with our startup sequence for this helicopter. And as you can see, it is a beautiful afternoon. It's just past the rains. We're going to use our checklist. Ta-da! And I've taken to calling this little checklist here, The Thing. You can see why if you're a fan of the Addams Family. Alright, let's go through our before startup checklist. So the first things that we're going to want to check out here, the fuel shutoff valve. We need to make sure that it is on and guarded. That's it right there. There are actually two fuel shutoff valves. That's our main one. Next, we want to make sure the collective is full down and turn the friction on. That's this little switch just to the right of the collective here. We'll flip it to the back. Alright, and we'll also want to check our cyclic is neutral and the friction is on. Now there's a problem with that. The little friction knob back here currently does not work, so there's no way that I could find to turn the friction on, but we'll let that slide. Pedals, we'll make sure those are neutral, so we'll check the play and center them there. Rotor brake, we're going to want to disengage that. Right now it's pulled out, meaning it's engaged, so we're going to pull it back up. There we go. Now the rotor brake is disengaged, so the rotor should start turning slowly but surely. Circuit breakers, want to make sure all of those are in, and this is one of the few aircraft that I've seen where the circuit breakers are actually modeled, which I think is a really cool thing. I'm not about to pull any out just to find out if it shuts stuff off. Alright, cabin heat, anti-ice, pitot heat, okay, all of that is located down here, and everything looks to be in order. Landing lights. The landing lights on this helicopter are on the little post right there where the cyclic is. Avionics and generator switches, make sure they're off. Everything is all off there. Altimeter, we'll make sure that is set. Now I took the liberty of doing that before, so we're good to go there. And then hydraulic switch, make sure that's on. It is currently on. Alright, moving to the second part. We need to get our battery and strobe on. So battery, and there are actually two strobe switches. You can't see one because of the way that my head is placed there, but they're both on. Igniter key, we're going to set that to enable, which is the up position right there. And we'll make sure that our area is clear in preparation for engine and rotor start. Looks like it's clear to me. Alright, fuel cutoff. Pull off. Okay, so this is the second fuel cutoff. Now this is going to be extremely important for you to know. When you're starting this engine, do not introduce fuel until you hear the beep. Trust me on this one, but after we hear that beep, we'll push that in. I'm going to demonstrate that to you. We want to make sure that everything is rising normally and that we're not overheating the engine, otherwise you can burn this thing up. Okay, so we're going to want to push and release, and we're going to watch the N1 for 15%, at which point we should get a beep and our temperature should be cool. And once we hear that beep, we'll go ahead and introduce fuel. So we'll stand by on our little fuel valve here. Wait for the beep. Beep, there it goes. Now we can introduce fuel, and now we just wait. Okay, make sure that the temperature is rising nicely. It's not getting too hot. We are not burning up our engine. This is perfect. So we've got a very good engine start, and eventually the rotor will catch up to the turbine itself, so we should be good to go. Alright, now that we've got that done, our next order of business is, let's see, MGT below 150. Alright, fuel cutoff. We're going to need to make sure that it is guarded, so we'll do that. Okay, next order of business, we want our generator on, so we'll go ahead and turn on the big white switch right there. And we're going to do an Annunciator panel test, which is right there. There's the beep we were waiting for. Okay, that works. Engine anti-ice check. You know what? We're in Florida. I'm going to bypass that. I don't think we'll need that. Doors, make sure they're all locked. They certainly are. Frictions. Now is when we're going to turn off that collective friction that we've got going here. So there we go. That is currently off. And we're going to lift the collective slightly and listen for the beep. Make sure our hydraulics are on. Alright, there's the beep we were waiting for. That's the low RPM warning. That is perfect. Okay, so we verify that we've been on for about a minute, and then we're going to slowly but surely raise the throttle to full. But before I do that, I want to turn on our nav lights and our avionics. That way we'll get that out of the way. And we'll also get our transponder on, and we'll set that to standby. Once again, we're squawking 1200. So yes, everything should be good to go on that end. Alright, we do need our weather, so let me do that real quick.
Orlando INTL Information Delta. 1900 Zulu weather. Wind 330 at 5, visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 19,000 few, temperature 21, dew point -9. Altimeter 3007. Arriving runway 17 left, departing runway 17 left. Advise on initial contact, you have Delta.
Okay, so everything is pretty much good to go on our altimeter, and I think we're pretty much done with our procedure. So the only thing we need to do here is we need to bring the throttle up, so we'll slowly turn that. There we go, and this throttle doesn't have a lot of play. It's pretty much just kind of like an off and on situation. Alright, so we're done with thing, so we'll get our landing lights on. And we've got all of our other lights on, so we should be good to go. Yeah, we are pretty much set. So I just need to turn our transponder to on, and we'll also check out our flight plan to make sure that we've got it all set to our current destination. So we need menu, activate leg. Okay, and we can get rid of that. So the second portion of the G1000 is right over here. It's actually separate from the main pedestal, but as you can see, everything is there, and we can also adjust the range that we're looking at, just like with all G1000s. So as soon as I figure out which knob it is, which I think I got it now, we'll zoom it out to an appropriate distance, much like it is there. Alright, let's also get our transponder set out. I believe I already have the GNS 530 set, so we're pretty much set to take off. Alright, so we are cleared for takeoff, so we're going to give it a little bit of collective, and we're going to watch to see which way the helicopter turns, which I believe is going to be to the right. Yep, there we go. Okay, so we'll compensate with a little bit of left pedal just to make sure she's pointing the direction I would like her to point. And as we gradually add collective, I'm going to ease back on that pedal action, so that way it'll actually turn us to the right. We're going to fly past the United hangars here, and we're going to head over basically downtown Orlando to the west. So yes, right there should be good. As far as our cruise altitude, I'm going to try and see if I can bring us up to about 1,000 feet above sea level, so that way we can do some sightseeing on the way out of Orlando. Ooh, a little bit wobbly there, but then that is why when you're in VR you stay inside the cockpit and you don't go outside to those funky camera angles, because it's difficult to gauge where exactly it is your controls are pushing you if you're at an odd angle. But I think we got it now, so we've got some forward speed going, and we're just going to pass over the highway here just to the west side of the airport, and we're going to get on our way. Now, one of the first and coolest things about this helicopter is the fact that it does, in fact, come with Autopilot. You would kind of figure, since it's got like a full electronic suite, it's definitely not your grandpappy's helicopter. It's got all the bells and whistles, including SAS, or Stability Augmentation System. That's what we're going to be using for our autopilot. So as soon as I've generated enough forward speed and I've confirmed that we are in the process of getting up to 1,000 feet above ground level, we'll activate the autopilot. That's one, and that's two. Okay, so our nav is currently on. It is now hands off, basically. So we are going to guide ourselves to our current flight path, which is going to take us to Werpo Waypoint as our first stop. And this will actually give us the golden opportunity to check out some of the suburban areas of Orlando. And there is the downtown. So you can see Orbx really put a lot into this whole area. Of course, I'm not going to lie to you folks, throughout the course of this video, you're going to see it. You're probably seeing it already now. Even though Orbx did go above and beyond when it comes to the creation of this entire state of Florida, there are still a lot of areas of Florida that have FPS issues. And there's our altitude hold, we'll get that on. This is definitely one of them. This whole area is one giant FPS sink. Okay, so our autopilot is on and in full swing, so now we get to basically enjoy the ride, and I'm trying to figure out if that building there is supposed to be the I-4 Eyesore. You're probably wondering, what in the heck am I talking about? Okay, so let me tell you the quick story of this. There is this building in Orlando that is infamous because it has never been completed. I believe it's called the Majesty Building, if I'm not too mistaken. This thing they started construction on back in the year 2001. And over the years, they've had all kinds of issues, and construction has been stalled and so on and so forth. And this thing has never been completed, ever. So it's gotten to the point where there's like plants growing through the construction and so on and so forth. Basically, nature is taking the damn thing over, and you know, it becomes an eyesore. And given its proximity to the I-4 interchange or interstate, which is what we're following right now and what we're going to continue to follow all the way to Tampa, they named this building the I-4 Eyesore. And here it is, 2020, and this thing is still not finished construction. It's one of the biggest inside jokes of Orlando. Alright, yep, there is the southern side of Orlando. I'm going to say that's, no, I don't think that's Leesburg. I think Leesburg's on the other side there. It's been a while since I've been to Orlando. It's been a year, exactly, since I've been to Orlando. So sometimes I forget some of the things down here, and I have to admit every now and then I might cheat a little bit and open up Google Maps just to kind of refresh my memory, because I've never lived in Orlando, but I do have family that's down here and so on and so forth. Alright, we are getting close to our WRPO waypoint though, so we're going to need to start keeping an eye out for the Disney area. And not only that, but if I play my cards right, I should be able to show you the exact hotel where we stayed last year for FlightSimExpo in 2019. And just to remind you, FlightSimExpo this year is in Las Vegas, so we're not going to be coming down to Florida, but I can at least show you how close a proximity we were to Disney World, even though very few of us actually went to Disney World while we were down here. But we'll get to that momentarily because I don't see any buildings that I recognize. You know what? We might have to go back to the outside view and do a quick look around and see what we can find. Alright, as we get a little bit closer to the Magic Kingdom and surrounding areas, we are in what I like to call the resort section of Orlando. A lot of what you're looking at here, those are all motels and hotels and resorts and, you know, all kinds of good stuff. You can see some massive complexes below, either owned by Universal or Disney and so on. And there it is! Look at that, folks! That is the Renaissance Resort at SeaWorld. That was the home of FlightSimExpo 2019. That's where we were last year, June, when we came down here for that awesome, awesome weekend. So, just to put it in perspective, you cross the road there and you've got all these various lakes, and Disney is right off in that direction. This is actually the start of pretty much the entire Disney area. So Disney itself is directly in front of it. You see that little pyramid-shaped thing? That's Space Mountain. That is Space Mountain. And then, of course, all the various hotels that surround the Magic Kingdom are just to the south of there. And all the Disney-themed resorts are pretty much what we're looking at spread out in front of us. So yeah, this whole sprawl, this whole area here is nothing but resorts. This is why I call it resort country. So pretty cool stuff. We're actually going to get as close as we possibly can to Disney. There is, of course, a TFR, or no-fly zone, in real life around the whole Disney area. It's obviously not going to affect us here in X-Plane 11, but because I want to stick to my flight plan, as soon as the helicopter decides to make that left turn, then we're just going to continue following where the helicopter wants us to go, and we're not actually going to, you know, get up close and personal with the Magic Kingdom. So I guess you could say we're kind of following the rules in a way. Yeah, we'll work with that. Alright, so what do we have down there? You know, I'm not even sure if that's Universal. I'll be honest with you folks, I've never been to Universal Studios, and truth be told, I haven't been to Disney since my daughter was 3. To put it in perspective, my daughter is going to be 25 this year. So if that gives you an idea how long it's been since I've actually been to any of these little tourist destinations, yeah, there you go. Alright, but we are still closing in on Disney, so we'll try to get as close as possible, and what I will do is I will go to the outside view for that. And when we come back to the inside, hopefully we will have already started our turn, so I can show you some of the other areas around the Magic Kingdom. For example, Epcot Center and the Hollywood Studios that they have. I think it used to be called Disney MGM. Alright, I'm sure you got to look outside, but here's a closer look right now. Ladies and gentlemen, there is Disney World. Woohoo! And I should also add, at the time that you are initially watching this video, assuming you're watching it the moment that it goes live or around that time period, Walt Disney World is currently closed in the midst of the whole COVID-19, aka coronavirus epidemic that's currently sweeping the United States. There is Disney's Hollywood Studios, and interesting little fact for you, I've never actually been there. Like I said, it's been 20 odd years since I've been to any of the resorts or attractions in this area. So yeah, I don't know anything at all about Disney's Hollywood Studios. I've been to Epcot Center and I've been to Disney. That's about it. For the next portion of our journey here, we're going to be traveling over a lot of green areas. Hey, look at that. There's a little Mickey Mouse lake there. I've never seen that before. That's pretty cool. That's on the southern end of the parking lot for Walt Disney World. That's pretty cool. I've never noticed that before. But then I've always been at ground level whenever I've actually been to this area. And like I said, it's been a while now, so I have no idea when they put that in. I couldn't find Epcot Center, however. I'm still kind of looking around to see where it is. I want to say it's off in that direction, but again, don't quote me on that. One thing I should also state, which I don't know if I'll put a pop-up on, because of the fact that I am losing FPS during this recording, because of how built up everything is with the scenery objects, I have actually taken the liberty of turning the scenery objects down a notch. So it is possible that while Epcot might be completely modeled, it might not be showing up because, you know, X-Plane has decided to cull certain objects from its visual representation in the flight sim. So that could be why we were unable to see the rather iconic structures that are at Epcot Center. I know that's not it. That's another one of the Disney resorts. I think that's the, I want to say it's a Venice-themed or Italian-themed resort. Yeah, I don't know the name of it, but there it is. It's right there. Alright, so as we make our way to Lakeland, this is actually going to be one of the longer portions of this journey. So while we're doing that, what I want to do really quick, as I do in most of these episodes, I want to give you some quick facts on the Robinson R66 that VSkyLabs has chosen to faithfully and meticulously recreate for our flight sim here. So, the R66, as it is called, was designed by Frank Robinson and had its first flight on the 7th of November in 2007. And actually, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, before I go into all of that, let me see if I can get a weather brief here just to make sure that we're you know, getting the right altimeter settings. So let's see. I think we should probably start with Lakeland. Get a weather brief for Lakeland really quick here. No, that is the Lakeland Vortac, which is actually what we're using as our navigation aid, but that's not quite what I'm looking for. Oh, come on, X-Plane, work with me here. Alright, Lakeland, where did you go? You are right here, I think? Yep, there it is. Okay, so we want KLAL. Clicky. Okay, there we go. We'll set the details. I can't see which one is which. Let's widen this out a little bit here. Okay, there we go. So we want Lakeland ATIS 118.025. So let's set that up really quick. We'll listen to Bitch and Betty's weather brief. And then, once we finish that, I think I will also take the liberty of getting the weather brief for Tampa. And then we'll continue with our quick facts on the Robinson R66. So please, bear with me a moment here as I tune us in. We're getting closer. Okay, right there should be good. Let's listen in.
Lakeland Linder INTL Information Delta. 2000 Zulu weather. Wind 340 at 9, visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 20,000 scattered, 27500 scattered, temperature 22, dew point -9. Altimeter 3008. Arriving runway 27, departing runway 27. Advise on initial contact, you have Delta.
Okay, so 3008 is what we want, and I'm in the process of getting our... Oh, come on, don't do this to me again. All I want is the weather brief for Tampa. Okay, it is up here somewhere, and I know Betty's going to repeat herself in a moment here.
Lakeland
so
Linder INTL Information Delta. 2000 Zulu weather. Wind 340 at 10, visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 20,000 scattered, 27500 scattered, temperature 22, dew point -9. Altimeter 3008. Arriving runway 27, departing runway 27.
Okay, sorry to cut you off there, Betty, but we want to take a listen to Tampa. So we'll switch everything around here and see if we can tune, I guess, the first of the two ATIS. I noticed they've got two, so it's probably one for the east and one for the west, if I'm not too mistaken. Because Tampa's a very large airport, by the way. So we'll set up our first frequency here. And then we will give it a listen in a moment and see if we can get the weather brief from Tampa. I can't imagine it'll be much different, though. Alright, so 128.475 and 126.450. Betty should have actually begun her weather brief by now. Betty, what's the problem here? Are we too far out to hear you? Is that what it is? Yeah, I think that might be the case. Alright, I'm going to set up the other frequency because I'm thinking the other frequency might be for the east side of the airport. So we, in theory, should be able to hear that before we hear the west side. We'll see if my theory is correct here. Nope. I got nothing. Alright, well, I tried. Alright, so let's get back into the quick facts on the Robinson R66. So as I mentioned, it had its first flight on the 7th of November in 2000.
Tampa INTL Information Delta.
Oh, you've got to be
2000
kidding
Zulu
me.
weather. Wind 340
Fine,
at 9,
Betty, you
visibility
win,
more
you
than
win.
10. Sky conditions 20,000 scattered, 28,000 scattered, temperature 22, dew point -9. Altimeter 3008. Arriving runways 01 left, 01 right, departing runways 01 left, 01 right. Advise on initial contact, you have Delta.
Well, alright then, I guess we're even, Betty, and if there's one thing I got out of this little segment here is we're at least on the right barometer, 3008. Alright, back to the outside we go. Oh crap, what is going on here? All of a sudden my SAS turned itself off. I don't think I blew a fuse or anything. That's weird. That is totally weird. Okay, we've got everything back on, so we're in control of the helicopter, but we might not exactly be on the right path. That was weird. I've never had that happen before in anything that I've flown. This is definitely a first. I'm not sure if I might have hit a button accidentally. Usually I keep my autopilot controls on the throttle side of my Cytec X52, so there's very little chance of me actually hitting it, especially when I take my hand off of the collective. That was weird. It was very weird. Okay, well, we only lost a little under 200 feet in altitude, so we're still doing pretty good. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, now might be a good time to take this aircraft down to the deck and do some low-level flying. Alright, so there we go. Autopilot is officially off, this time under my control. And we're going to hit the deck and go treetops level, doing the kind of flying that I like to call down in the weeds with my hair on fire. So pretty much we are in orange tree country, as in orange the fruit, or orange the color of the fruit. So yeah, now we can really get a good chance to see exactly what kind of foliage Orbx is using for their Florida. And I have noticed there are some custom trees. If you notice, you'll see the trees with what looks to be white bark on them. That's new. I have not seen that in any other Orbx scenery before. This was made specifically for Florida from the looks of it. So, to give you guys a better view, what I'll do is I'll go back to the outside view, and when we come back in, we'll get back up to altitude and get back on course. But for now, enjoy the Florida countryside. Alright, well, I sincerely hope that you enjoyed our little view of the Florida countryside and, of course, all the orange trees and so on and so forth. Okay, we are going to bring it back up to 1,000 feet above sea level, and we'll get back on course. So let me turn my autopilot back on. There we go, and it looks like our nav's already on. We'll get our altitude hold on as well. The rest of this I can adjust by adjusting our vertical speed, assuming, of course, it works the same way as it does with other G1000 cockpits. We're going to find out in a moment. But before I forget about it, let me get back into the quick facts on the Robinson R66. So, let's see. Oh, we got a radio tower coming up ahead. That's no bueno. Hold on a second here. Alright, I am going to need to figure out this vertical speed really quick. I'm going to want to be over 1,000 feet. Usually radio towers aren't much taller than that. So let's set our altimeter. Okay, so our alt hold is at 1,000. If I activate this right here, that should be our vertical speed. Like our autopilot vertical speed. Doesn't seem to be giving me much here, so I'm hoping that I can kind of coax us up there. In the meantime, I'm going to give it a little bit more collective. Alright, hopefully we'll bypass that. It looks like we're going to go to the side of it anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. Alright, now I really need to finish this up. Okay, so Robinson R66, first flight, 7th of November 2007. It is currently in production. This helicopter features a crew of 1. You can have a co-pilot, of course, and 4 additional passengers. The length of it is 29 feet and 6 inches. The width is about 4 feet 10 inches, so it is a very narrow helicopter. It's got a height of 11 feet 5 inches due to the mast above us that holds the rotor. Empty weight of 1,290 pounds, so really light helicopter as well. I think I found my vertical speed here, so let me just push that. I'm thinking I might be able to push us up to about 500 feet per minute. I do know that this thing does have an average rate of climb of 1,000 feet per minute, so 500 isn't going to be breaking the bank. As far as the engine goes, this thing has one Rolls-Royce RR300 turboshaft engine, so that puppy will actually power a rotor that is 33 feet in diameter. The tail rotor is 5 feet in diameter. That'll give us an average cruise speed of about 110 knots. Our VNE, or speed never to exceed, is 140 knots. Don't want to get any faster than that or things get bad really quickly. We can carry about 73.5 gallons of gas, and our range is about 350 nautical miles. And we even have a service ceiling of 14,000 feet. So yeah, with all of the accoutrements that this helicopter has, out of the three, the Robinson R22, 44, and 66, I have to say the 66 is my absolute favorite of the bunch. This is Sky Chopper 9 with your up-to-the-minute traffic update, and everything is looking to be smooth sailing on I-4 West heading towards Lakeland and Tampa. Doesn't seem to be any pileups there. Once you get out of downtown Orlando, just make sure that you are using your turn signal when you're actually changing lanes and don't drive like a Florida driver. Yeah, Florida drivers are some of the absolute worst in the entire country. I want to say they're probably only rivaled by LA and New York drivers, but since Florida seems to be the meeting place for all the different portions of the United States to come down to, yeah, Florida drivers are the worst. But there you go. I hope you liked our little traffic update there from Sky Chopper 9. And we're getting closer to Lakeland. We still have a little ways to go, but not that far. As I mentioned, this is definitely the longer portion of our journey. Getting to Tampa might take us a shorter period of time. However, our FPS has been going back up a little bit because of the fact that there's not much out here. There's a lot of greenery, there's some major highways, there's a few subdivisions here and there. Okay, so just so you're aware, once we get to Lakeland, we are not going to be using any kind of custom Lakeland scenery. Even though there is one in the works, I have heard word from, it's either Orbx or one of them, that they're actually working on a Lakeland Airport. It will not be ready by the time you see this video, so obviously I've got to go with what I've got, and what I've got is the current default Lakeland scenery by Laminar Research. You can see it directly up ahead. Matter of fact, we're on runway heading right now, so pretty cool stuff. With that having been said, the Tampa that we're going into is also going to be the default X-Plane Tampa. I did not want to use any custom airports after the experience that we had in Orlando. As much as I love Nimbus simulations and love their airports, and we're actually going to be going into Fort Lauderdale where I have their Fort Lauderdale airport, I'm not 100% certain if we're going to land there, if we're going to land at Fort Lauderdale Executive. I'll decide that in the next video. But suffice to say, Nimbus does tend to hit the FPS a little heavy, so that's why I opted not to use any other Nimbus products for now with this little tour. But you never know. He might come out with another airport that I might want to feature, and at that point in time we'll get back into it. But for now, I did promise you that we would take a look at this nifty little laptop that they've got over in my co-pilot seat. So let's slide to the left and check out the laptop featuring Avatab. Alright, so we are in the co-pilot seat, and we'll just pop the laptop open here. Just to remind you, Avatab is freeware. The link is in the video description below. You absolutely must have it installed in your plugins folder in order to utilize all the features that Avatab has on these aircraft. Now bear in mind, you can use Avatab separately without having like a little laptop item or an iPad item or whatever. You can actually just create a shortcut key that'll open up Avatab in front of your face. The reason why we do this, however, is because the developer has kindly taken to adding this little icon, or this little what's the word I'm looking for? Object, I guess, the laptop itself, to make it look like you're having a reason to access Avatab. And it works. So as you can see, I've just pulled up the Robinson manual that comes with this helicopter. I should add, things like the checklist, the normal and emergency procedures, and all of that are not included with the VSkyLabs manual. The only thing that VSkyLabs goes over is some of the basics you need to know, some of the control setups, and you really need to pay attention to that because there's a couple of control things that you're going to need to set up in your X-Plane control settings. And of course, various information about the cockpit and the click spots and so on and so forth. If you want the actual checklists for this helicopter, the links to every single checklist and the pilot operating handbook is at the end of the VSkyLabs manual. When you click on that, it'll actually open up a web page and send you to the real-life Robinson website where you can download it. Now, a couple of other features that I'm not sure if I've shown you before regarding Avatab. So we could put charts in there, and I don't have any currently, so there's no point really showing that to you. But what we can do is we can punch in the various airport ICAO codes and get important information on that airport. For example, we can get a weather brief. Since it's been a few minutes since we've actually gotten a weather brief from Tampa, what I've done here is I've gone ahead and punched it in, and you can see it's the exact same frequencies that we had programmed earlier using the X-Plane map. Let's listen to Betty and see if anything's changed since then.
Tampa INTL information Delta. 2000 Zulu weather. Wind 330 at 6, visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 7000 few, 29500 scattered, temperature 22, dew point -9. Altimeter 3009. Arriving runways 01 left, 01 right, departing runways 01 left, 01 right. Advise on initial contact you have Delta.
Okay, see, it's a good thing we decided to listen to Betty this time. We actually do have a change. Now the weather is 3009 for our barometric pressure instead of 3008. Okay, we can also change that on the G1000 because I notice I haven't really done anything with it here.
Tampa INTL information Delta.
And Betty's going to repeat the same thing.
Zulu
we'll let
weather.
her do her thing for a little bit here.
Wind 330 at 6, visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 7000 few,
Make sure I didn't miss anything
29500
previously.
scattered, temperature 22, dew point -9. Altimeter 3009. Arriving runways 01 left, 01 right, departing runways 01 left, 01 right.
Okay.
Advise on initial contact you have Delta.
Alright, so there we go. We'll go ahead and turn off Betty. We'll just switch it to a blank radio station, and we can close this down. We're going to head back to the pilot seat as we overfly Lakeland Airport in preparation for the final leg to Tampa. Okay, so we are now officially over Lakeland Airport, and one of the most important things that I want to remind you of is the fact that This is default. Now, how did it get to be default? A lot of the airports that Laminar Research puts in there, yeah, there's a few that they themselves, the developers, actually work on. But the vast majority of airports that are currently in the Scenery Gateway database were actually designed by folks like you and me. You may notice in the credits and in the video description, I always have something to say about WED, or the World Editor. There's a reason for that. A lot of the times these Scenery Gateway airports, users like myself or like yourself actually go in there and add all these extra little details. Like, look at that. See, you've got the road that goes to the control tower. And even though not everything might be matched up to the ortho photo exactly, you do have the capability within WED of making certain that they ultimately do. So whenever you see airports like this, thank your fellow users for taking the extra time to actually devote to making this thing look more like it would in real life. That's the power of WED, and that's why I think everyone should use it. Oh, in other news, we are down to a quarter tank of gas. I think we should be able to make it to Tampa. Yeah, we should have enough gas, I think. Alright, real quick, I wanted to point attention to something that I just showed off in the outside view. You may have noticed there were floats on this thing. Those floats are currently non-functional at the time of this recording. You will also notice there are people there that appear and disappear depending on how much weight you've got in this helicopter. My question to you that I'd like to see in the comments answered: would you like to see the people also appear on the inside of the cockpit, especially when you're in VR? Now, I bet you're probably thinking, well, that just kind of came out of left field there. What's the point to that? It's been kind of like an ongoing discussion between me and the developer of VSkyLabs, where I feel that he needs to make certain that the people also show up in the cockpit, especially in VR. It can be optional, of course, like maybe we have a little button that'll just turn all the people off. But I find that it helps to add to the immersion to have people sitting next to me. Perhaps not in the pilot seat. I don't care if the pilot seat is empty, but just to have that quote-unquote company. Let me check our weather really quick here.
Tampa INTL information Delta. 2000 Zulu weather. Wind 320 at 10, visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 7000 few, 29500 scattered. Temperature 23, dew point -8. Altimeter 3009. Arriving runways 01 left, 01 right, departing runways 01 left, 01 right. Advise on initial contact, you have Delta.
Okay, good. So it looks like nothing has really changed since the last time that we listened. I'm guessing it's probably going to stay 3009 when we bring ourselves into the airport. We're only at about 1,000 feet up anyway, so it's really not going to matter that much. I don't think I'm going to smack into the concrete because I miscalculated by 50 feet or something. I don't know. But anyway, there is Tampa off in the distance. You can start to see the downtown area. The international airport that we're going to is directly ahead. We could literally follow this road in front of us, and it will take us straight to Tampa International Airport. So that is what we're going to be doing, kind of, sort of. And we've also got I-4 that we can follow as well. So I guess the point that I was trying to make earlier regarding the people, I think the people look really great outside, and I thought that it was an extremely novel idea for them to actually make the people appear depending on how much weight you set this helicopter to have in the little weight and fuel payload window that X-Plane has. And I would love to see that extended to actually include the physical models represented in the aircraft itself. They don't even have to go into so much as the animations and, making them do that odd head turn, or have their hands connected to controls, or so on and so forth. But just something to allow us to see that there's someone else in there, to kind of get that reminder in our head that we've got extra weight. But I'm really curious to know what you all think, and I would love for the developer to know as well. Alrighty folks, I've got good news and I've got bad news for you. So, the good news is we are currently on the outskirts of Tampa, Florida. So, everything is pretty much on the home stretch, and pretty much all we need to do is just continue flying straight until we get to the airport and then bring her home. Let me just do one thing here. Set this back there, and we're going to get our map up so that way I can show you exactly where we are in relation to where we need to be. Okay, so downtown Tampa directly in front and to the left of us, so pretty much on the southern side of the map there. And the airport is just north of Tampa Bay, the actual bay itself. So if you look, you'll see that big orange line that kind of cuts from the 1 o'clock position all the way across to about the 8 o'clock position. That's I-4. That's the highway that we've basically been following this entire time from Orlando. And we're going to continue to intercept I-4. And once we pass over I-4, we should be just about on final to land at Tampa. Now, if you've been listening to the weather brief, as I'm sure you probably have, Betty's kind of loud, you will notice that she said that they're landing on runways 1 left and 1 right. We will not be doing that. We're actually just going to pull it in at the closest hangar area, the closest parking spot. I did not check in advance. Usually I will check to see where there is a helipad, and we'll just bring it down directly to it. Or maybe we'll do a little hover taxi. But if you look off to the left of the screen there, you'll actually see there's a crosswind runway that more than likely is not currently in use. That's our target. That's what we're going to use to come down, and we're going to park it like off to the side so we can get a good look at the terminal. In the meantime, looking at our gas, it looks like we might actually make it. Alright, I should have added more gas, but to be honest with you, with 4 people on board, I kind of wanted to go a little light on gas, so that was poor planning on my part. Now I know what you're probably thinking. Okay, Bell, you told us the good news. Well, what's the bad news? Well, as you saw outside, and as you're seeing now, the FPS has dropped ridiculously. So, my apologies for the slideshow. Alright, one more time with the weather.
Tampa INTL information Delta. 2000 Zulu weather. Wind 360 at 5, visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 7000 few. 29500 scattered, temperature 21, dew point -9. Altimeter 3009. Arriving runways 01 left, 01 right, departing runways 01 left, 01 right. Advise on initial contact you have Delta.
Okay, so we still have information Delta, which is fine. We'll go ahead and close down our little laptop here because we're not going to need it for this approach. So pretty much what we've got here is a straight shot to the airport. So what I will do when we get a little bit closer is I will go ahead and turn off the autopilot and gradually bring us down and to the left, because my plan is not to land on the crosswind runway. However, I want to land on the apron that is going to be just to the left of the crosswind runway. So hopefully that will work out. But again, I do offer apologies. This little science experiment here is for a purpose. It's not just because I want you to dislike my video because of the low FPS or something. It's because I want to prove a point. When you have enough scenery objects in an Orbx scenery, it can bring even the best of computers down in FPS. Especially in VR, where the cards are stacked against you and it's already drawing like pretty much double the resources that you normally would. So bear in mind, what I just showed you outside, we went from medium settings up to high settings, so one notch, adding scenery objects, and you can see what a difference it made. Now it's showing you like every 3 or every 5 residential houses, as well as all of the commercial buildings, you know, the larger size buildings around the area. So it actually does make a difference, but it's still not maximum. If we were to put this thing on maximum, yeah, we're talking single digit frame rates here. So that, if nothing else, is the biggest downfall currently with this Orbx True Earth scenery that I have discovered in the 4 flights that we've done so far. Now bear in mind, we're ultimately going to end up in the Florida Keys, and when we do, I expect the FPS to go back up high enough for me to swap out the standard definition that we're using right now and put in the high definition. Alright, enough of my yammering. Let's get our autopilot off and we will begin to bring this bird in to Tampa International Airport. Okay, we are now over what I like to call the suburban sprawl that surrounds the downtown area. That's pretty much where like the majority of people in Tampa live, you know, right along the river and so on and so forth. They've got their little subdivisions there. And we're getting closer to Tampa International, so you see the crosswind runway directly ahead. And look at that. I did not know that, but that is where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that's a football team, that's where they play. Now, I'll be honest with you folks, it's been quite some time since I have followed football. Naturally, I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan because, of course, I live in Pittsburgh. But I'll be honest with you folks, I really have not followed any football for probably like the last 6 or 7 years. So yeah, while I know all the teams and I can obviously tell you where all their stadiums are and so on and so forth, I really can't tell you much about the players or what's been happening in the NFL over the last few years. But yeah, those of you who are football fans and know anything about Florida will know that Florida does have 3 NFL stadiums currently in the state. So we saw the first one for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and now we're seeing the stadium for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And before this entire journey is done, we will also see the stadium for the Miami Dolphins. Incidentally, I dislike all 3 teams. I'm just going to throw that out there right now, so sorry if it's offensive to you, but hey, you know, it is what it is. Like I said, I don't follow football anymore, but even when I did, I never really liked any of those teams, so there you go. Alright, but welcome folks to Tampa International Airport. We are coming in just to the left of runway 28, and I'm going to put her down just past what would appear to be a 737 directly in my path here. I am thinking if I cross over that taxiway, I should be able to park on the opposite side there. So, with that having been said, I sincerely hope that you have enjoyed this little journey that we have taken today from Mickey Mouse Country over to Busch Gardens Country. Busch Gardens is the amusement park that's in Tampa. Highly recommended. From my understanding, it is still staying open in the midst of this coronavirus outbreak and whatnot. But then they've got enough beer and alcohol in Busch Gardens that they can probably kill any virus or bacteria. So we're not going to worry about them at all. They're in good hands. Alright, let's bring this bird home, and as is typical, we are going to go to the outside view as we park her on the tarmac. So here we go. Okay, I gotta tell you guys really quick. So earlier this week, or actually it might have been last week now, there was a gentleman on the helicopter groups that actually made a comment talking about he likes to land from the exterior view. And both Sergio from HeliSimmer and I had mentioned it's probably a good idea to do it from the interior view because you actually have a little bit more control, especially if you're in VR. That right there, what you just saw, my absolutely horrible landing, is proof as to why you should always be inside the helicopter cockpit, especially if you're in VR, whenever you're coming down to land. So my attempt to show off for you all backfired, but let that be a teaching tool for all of you. Alright, but you know what? We are just about done. So I'm going to take my ashamed self and I'm going to call this video over. I want to thank you as always for watching. This has been BelGeode. I have been flying in X-Plane 11 and we have been doing the Orbx True Earth Florida tour. This has been leg 4. For our next leg, we're going to go to my hometown, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, or as we used to call it when we were growing up, Fort Lickerdale, because that was the place to get drunk back in the day, especially if you were into heavy metal. Alright, but just to remind you, we have been flying around in the VSkyLabs version of the Robinson R66. As you can see, this one is ready for prime time, and because it is VSkyLabs, expect them to do a lot of updates to tweak things and update things as time goes on. That's just the way they work. It's not like they're, trying to retcon any mistakes or anything that they've done. They're just that dedicated to make this thing as realistic as possible. And my hat goes off to them for doing an incredible job on this helicopter. So if there are any comments that you have regarding what I had mentioned before about whether you would like to see people inside of the cockpit, please let me know in the comments below. The developer will be reading the comments from time to time, or I will point them out to him. And just kind of help me out with my case here, because honestly, I really would like to see people. I would like for it to be optional, but again, I want to know what you guys think. Alright, if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please feel free to give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you would like to be kept up to date on when these videos go online, as well as all the other multiple flight sims that I fly. And I will be back in the very near future with the 5th leg, which, like I said, is going to take me to my hometown. So this is BelGeode signing out, and I will see you soon. Ciao!